A warm welcome to you all, and welcome to the Jake Crulee podcast, episode 7. I've got my man Shady Tupu here, and I always say this, but I like to give like a backstory of how I came across the guest, and I think I'll leave one of the instances till last, but the latest one that I seen was a video you created talking about taking a shekel, taking a poo in Dinsdale, man. And I just
Oh,
thought it was just like classically humorous, and I think even to have the music behind it was it brought it all together. So I seen that, and I know that we're both from the same town, Tikawiti, but also I think it was you that a few years ago you went into a grocery store that was empty, so it was full. It was full of
yeah.
items, but there were no workers there. So it was almost like there was an apocalypse, and the grocery store was full, but no one was there, and some of the food was old. So I guess just for those who are listening, Shady, could you just introduce yourself?
Yes, so there's my bar. So my name is Shady Tupu, and out of all videos, my man wants to bring up the Shekel video as well as the apocalypse video. All good, bro. All good. A lot of people bring up those particular videos. There are more. There are more. Well, we'll go from there. So my name is Shady Tupu. Like the brother said, I hail from Tikuti as well. However, now living up in Hamilton, but from King Country originally. King Country boy, raised in Otorohanga though, and spent half of my years in King Country and half of my years in Hamilton. So sort of like the best of both worlds, you could say. The city slicker and the Tikawiti slicker. So it's just sort of a combination of the two. 31 years old, three beautiful children, one on the way. Currently working down in Tikwiti, so still working where I come from. However, still living in Hamilton. And also a content creator. So the bro had seen the video on my page, Hori with a story. So also a Facebook blogger, and enjoy creating content, whether it be humorous content or a little bit more mature. Sorry. Enjoy creating content as into
Right.
where the Brad's in their video.
Yeah,
Um, just
absolutely.
just first and foremost though, just a quick shout out to you, my bro. You may have not realized it, but I told you before that you are one of my inspirations behind creating content. So it's funny how the universe works. It was when you had sort of reached out to me, I fanboyed you off my page. And I was like, whoa, you're one of you're one of my inspirations. And when you had said, "Would you like to hop on a podcast?" I was humbled.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was really
Absolutely.
humbled. Yeah.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your kind words and the recognition. What were you doing specifically, like what Shady's referring to is simple troll. So back in high school,
Yeah.
myself, my friend Stanley Chan and Levi Ingley, we would go up to the base, or we would go from Tikawiti to Hamilton and just make trolling videos. So whether that was doing pickup lines or trying to get numbers, trying to get girls' numbers, or just doing silly things like putting ourselves in situations that were uncomfortable but ridiculously immature, but also funny. So while we were doing that, like while you were viewing that content specifically, did you have aspirations of creating Hori with a story then?
Wouldn't say horror with a story. But definitely creating humorous content, like you said, immature. But in my eyes, very, very different to what was going on within that particular circuit, within what everybody else was doing. I did see a lot of me, anyways. I've seen a lot of character within that particular genre, and just like you said, you guys are very uncomfortable. Um, something you barely see any of these other content creators doing. You know, a lot of it's within their comfort zone. They're inside their room running these bubblegum skits. So to me, it was a lot more heavy hitting, a lot more impactful, and exactly why I said one of my many inspirations is into why I started mine.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you again. And like we're both from Tigawiti, or from the King Country. So I'm interested to hear about your experiences as a child growing up there, and like your childhood in general, growing up in a small town like Tigawiti. What was your childhood and upbringing like there?
Okay then. So I grew up in Otorohanga, which is basically 50 minutes away. We're pretty much the same. Very humble beginning. I grew up with my grandparents. I was blessed to grow up with my nana and my kuru. So I was very, very blessed. It was sort of because I was born in 1991, so I'm a 90s kid, and um, within that particular time, it was very nostalgically 90s. It was like starter jackets, chatterings, yeah, hacky sacks. It was
Hopscotch.
some, yeah, hopscotch. Everything we were outside a hell of a lot of the time. So, um, I grew up in that area. You know, the kids on bikes, and you just went home when the light turned on. So, yeah, I really enjoyed my upbringing there. To a point where I do feel blessed to have grown up with my grandparents. My kora had run the local spacey parlour in Otorohanga. So I I grew up at the spacey parlour, and I was known as the little kid that'll hang around you next to the pool table. Yeah, he'll ask you for a turn on your Street Fighter or something. So yeah, it was really, for me anyways, being known as the kid that was at the spacey parlour, was sort of like a little bit of a, for me anyways, it was a little bit of character building. And I knew, like, 5 years old, I was immersed in that I could do a Hadouken before I could spell my own name. So
Yes.
yeah, so it was like sort of culture for me to be brought up in that environment. And I really enjoyed it, bro. My grandparents had very little money, but I was immersed in a very, very funny environment, very loving, wholesome, warm whānau. And and to this day, I do say this to everyone, I was blessed to be able to grow up with my grandparents. So yeah, as for me growing up as a kid in the King Country, I do believe I had very, very awesome childhood.
Right. And for me, like growing up in a small town, it almost seems like you're either going to get into trouble and mix yourself with trouble, or not, and it's almost like there's a propensity to get into trouble more so than not to get into trouble. So did you
Yeah.
get into trouble? And if you didn't, what did you do? What allowed you to not get into trouble?
So are we talking about when I was with my grandparents?
Yeah, I mean,
Or
just growing up, Antigua Woody in the King Country and Otorohanga, maybe I think till like high school, you know what I mean? End of high school.
okay.
But then even after that,
Uh
you could still stay in trouble, right?
yeah,
But
of course.
how did you stay out of trouble, or did you find yourself in trouble and find yourself out of it somehow?
Okay. Um I think mine was like a generic trouble, like like borderline stuff. I remember, like, my cousin blackmailing me to steal a chocolate, or he'll give me a hiding, and then I stole it, and then he said, "Oh, the next day steal it again, or I'll tell your mum." And that carried on for about 3 weeks until I folded, and then he told me, "Nah, I wasn't gonna even tell your mum." So, it was real little kitty stuff. Um, and and I think, yeah, maybe that sort of was the only line that I would cross in terms to naughty. Um, I yeah, I didn't get too much. Maybe just the odd getting home late type
Mm,
of thing. Because I was
mm,
with my nan until about 8 years old, so I
mm.
was still a little kid. But yeah, as a growing up towards the high school and after that stuff, yeah, very definitely a lot of trouble.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
On your page, Hori with a story, you speak about not having your father around as a child. I'm curious to know, like, how did that impact you personally, like as a child? And I think just growing up, as you age, like, how did that impact you?
It was hard, very hard for me. I can humbly admit that now as an adult. Um, it was very, very difficult for me. As stereotypical as it is for people, um, not gonna sit there and say within our culture, but I saw a lot of things indicating that a lot of boys grow up without their father. Um, yeah, it was either like three things: your dad was in jail, your dad left, or your dad is around but he's violent. Like there was, you never really saw anything else. If you saw like the father of the year, it was you. It was very, very rare. It did play a very big part in the way that I am. I remember scoring rugby tries as a child. I remember scoring tries, and no dad was there. There was no father figure. I had other people's dads praising me, like my bro. Yeah, like acting like wishing I was their kid, and bro's angry at me, and I was angry because I had no dad, and so I had to sort of make the most of any other dad that would sort of show Alfie towards me. Growing up, as I aged on, I didn't have much of a father figure to sort of tell me right from wrong. Although I have, although I have my own sense and my own awareness, I never truly had somebody tell me, "Don't do that." Yeah, or I'm proud of you, son. I never had any of that sort of stuff. So it it actually become quite normal to me, for me, sorry, to take things on by myself. And I think that that has given me a lot of uh, false independency. So I do like doing things on my own. I'm not going to sit there and say um, it's a bad thing, but some of it has stemmed from having to do a lot of things on my own.
Right. Yeah, and I can totally relate to that, and it's almost a challenge in itself to reach out and ask for help or just guidance with this, or just trying to offload some of that maybe stress, you could say, and just have other people there to be with you and just to help you. And it doesn't have to be like a negative, a negative stress. It can be just your simple day to day life things. Like for me personally, in my experience, I would do everything by myself. Even if I couldn't do it, I'd still try and do it, and I just wouldn't get any good results. But things did change when I learned to ask for help and allow others in. So I seen on your page as well, like there was a photo of you and your dad, and you had just done a show recently, and you seen him. So I'd be interested to hear about how. I think you did say you were angry. There was anger there.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear about how you were able to work through that, and maybe you forgave him. Was there a moment of reconciliation there?
Um, so up until the age of 24, I had never met my dad. So I met him close to 7 years, 8 years ago. I had finally met him. And it wasn't under the best circumstances. My nan had passed away, so his mum had passed away, and he had finally come back from South Island after all these years to bury my nan. Um, as you could imagine, a lot of different emotions had sort of flooded me that day, from anger, resentment. As an empath, I did feel sorry for the man. He just lost his mum. Um, Everything was sort of flooding me at the one time. It got a bit personal, but I told him, we're not here for us, we're here for Nan. So I did grow up, without him, and I had to show him exactly how far I grew up without him. And I put my big boy shorts on and sort of, yeah, did everything for Nan and put myself, put my stuff to the side. Um, so that was 7 years ago, and at that place, I told him, um, all this anger I have to you, I'm burying it when we bury Nan. So it was me sort of growing and me mending a fence I shouldn't have to mend. So it was, it was my own way of dealing with that situation, as well as sort of taking on what had happened. Well, it was very overwhelming to finally meet him, because I had a lot of expectations that just were not met, and um, I'll never, never throw shade at my dad. He's the reason I'm here. So I had to humbly and slowly um, let him in, but not overnight, if you get me. It was a real slow process. And to this day, it's still a very slow process, um, simply because he's his own man, and it feels like I do a lot more of the just setting kaupapa really between us. I do feel he doesn't want to step on toes when it comes to me and in regards to life decisions. So I think he's just letting me take the wheel and be like, when my son's ready, then he may very well come to terms and come back into my life. But yeah, as you said, there's still a lot of unresolved issues there. But yeah, it doesn't mean I'll shut him out. I went to go see him while I was in Palmerston North, and it was very warm for me to do that. It was a little, not closure, but just to see him, even if it was for 20 minutes, was a good feeling.
Right. Yeah. We speak about actually me and a friend were speaking about boundaries and what that means for us as individuals, and who we're willing to allow into our personal space, and who we are not allowing, right? Like, because it almost seems like, yeah, different family members and friends, members of the public, like, depending on the person, they're allowed closer to you, right? And there's only a few, like maybe just your family, or your other half and your kids, who really know you, and who you really let in.
Yeah,
So I think, yeah, exercising boundaries is so important. And it's interesting you say that as well, because for me and my dad, actually, we really reconciled. It was just such a amazing moment. I think for him and for me, it was at my great grandmother's funeral, about 3 years ago.
yeah,
And yeah, there was just so much resentment, as you say, like there's so much blockage, and there was just so much emotion, and so much like heavy energy. And I think being at the funeral, and maybe just being with family, and then experiencing, like, death, I think it just allowed us to come together, and actually recognize what's important in life. And I think, one of those is love, and forgiveness, and yeah, just, I think, coming together, and healing. But and then in saying what you said, is that it does take time, and it is going to take time. but it's on amends, and it's where it needs to be. I want to
Yeah,
ask you, like, what's it like now, like having gone through that experience and now being a father yourself?
yeah. It's eye opening. It's very eye opening because it's very cliche of me to say as a parent. I want to give my children things I never had. Yeah, a lot of parents say that. And my one at the very, very top is a father. Like I want to give my children a father. Yeah, the one thing I never had. So you can put money to the side, you can put the fancy house to the side, everything else. All I really want to give my children at the end of the day is a father, someone that's going to be there to show up at their assemblies, to pick them up from school, to be at these sports games, to run home to. It's the most blessed and warmest feeling I ever get when my children run up to me with their arms open and say, "Dad." It truly is. It's something that I never got to experience myself. So I think my children will find it, to them anyways, they're probably like really, really over it. But yeah, because it's so
Yeah.
normal to them. It's so normal to them for their
Mm.
dad to just get really hyped. But for me anyways, I don't want them, you know, to experience that. Not that it's like, completely destroyed me. It has built character. But
Mm.
saying that, like, yeah, that's if I like what I do is I give my children a pizza and I take one piece of the pizza away from each one of my children and I see how they react. And it's simply just for me anyways, it's just to see how my children react towards the things that I couldn't give them. Like I can give them everything, but if they're missing that one thing and they fixate on it, then my children are not truly getting the picture. I want them to be grateful for the things that I did give. So um yeah, it's my way of removing it, sort of a daddy tax, and then take the slice of pizza away, and then
Yeah.
see how they react. And my two girls are, oh, you want some more, Dad? And then so I'm like, yeah, see, that's cool. They didn't notice what was missing. It's my son. It's my son, the one that my rebel. Yeah, he'll do the go back, and I'm gonna have a very hard time with you, discussing the things that I couldn't give you. But yeah, they are children and they're my children. I love them to bits. It's just me having a little laugh with them and also setting foundation with my children.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's a beautiful thing to like hear about, some of the things you've experienced in your life pertaining to your family and like your father and the relationship you both share. But then to see how you've been able to work with that and become a father yourself, and to actually have some self-awareness of how how those experiences with your father and with your childhood growing up could potentially um, express itself nowadays, like with your own kids. So you're very conscious about the way that you operate, and how you are as a father and as a partner, and that's great. Like that is something that I think all of us can take inspiration from. And like, I guess having gone through some a childhood like that, you've always got like two options, right? You could either choose to address it, or you can almost choose to go down a path of self-destruction. And I know on your
Yeah,
page, Hori, with the story, you do talk about like mental health issues, like mental health topics. And I'll just be interested to hear about um, how your childhood and how your life experience, um, I guess, produced like mental health challenges for you, like things that you've had to experience and overcome.
cool, Les. I do believe I still struggle with a lot of it today. You know what I mean? It's not a mask that I wear. having a down day, I'll express that. I'll express it. If I'm having a good day, I'll express it. Um, I I feel social media is flooded with people that only share the highlight reels. I'm very much the opposite. I will show my bloopers any time of any day of the week, because it shows you that I'm authentic. It shows you that I'm human. I experience a lot, and I've been able to sort of let my walls down within my page, not fully, to an extent. Um, there are a lot of things that I deal with that the page doesn't need to know about, and that's because of energy. That's because of the energy it holds, and I'm not the type to let uh, low vibrational energy affect anybody. I don't want to be the cause of anybody having a bad day. So I have to really choose my topics well, and and if it is going to be a heavy one, I won't write trigger warning. I'll just weigh it out by posting a lot more positive stuff before and after it, so that the energy on the page doesn't stay too fixated within that low vibration. Um, I'm not the type to burden one person, like I was saying earlier. I think you were too very independent. So if I'm having a bad day, you barely see me go and tell anybody, because I feel like I'm taking my energy there and infecting them instead of affecting them. So I sort of deal with quite a lot of that stuff on my own. Um, but a lot of my expression through written word, a lot of people feel it, and it's more engaging for them to read it, so they can sort of interpretate it themselves and take it with them. So instead of me posting a video saying this and that, I'll let them sort of have their own take on what I write. Mental health is a very, very big thing for me, and I've made that awareness towards my page, especially towards all the brothers, especially towards all my brothers. That's not me being sexist nor biased, but I can't speak for females, so I put it out there for my bros, and obviously girls as well. But I do say, let's put them in mental health. If you need to talk, korero, it ain't weak to speak, and I've sort of let my platform be known for that, be known for somebody that can talk about certain feelings and certain things I'm going through. Um, you were saying you got one or two choices. That's basically it. It's sort of like red pill, blue pill, and yeah, you can sort of
Yeah.
take it,
Yeah.
face the real world,
Yeah.
take the real world on, or you can just sort of, you know, you can bury yourself in this fake world and sort of mask it and go all on about your day and with all the stuff, and it's just gonna build within you. Yeah, it'll just grow. You really have to attack it then and there. Um, but yeah, uh, I like to let everything in my that comes my way test me before it blesses me. So it's either going to make me better or it's either going to make me bitter. And I know that a lot of my time needs to be put within the better mind state, um, just to keep me in a more higher vibration. Although I don't practice toxic positivity, I try to keep a humble balance between the two. And if something is upsetting me, I'll let that upset. I'll let that happen, because that's me being a natural human and not trying to uh, how would you say it? Not trying to sort of eradicate true human emotion. I'll actually take it for what it is, but not stay too long, and then look for the light and just follow. So yeah, mental health is a very big thing for me, and yeah, I do my very best to portray it, whether it's in through humor or just through positive affirmation.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And like, to be fair, like, I'll speak from experience. Like, I personally didn't know I needed help. Right. And it wasn't till, all of these things were happening in my life, and I was just finding myself in all of these negative situations where I actually like woke up. I didn't have anyone to tell me, hey man, like you maybe need some help, or you should speak with this person, or maybe that service, or have you taken a look at this video, or have you read this book? I didn't have that. So like, to be fair, like there are people out there who genuinely don't know they need help, especially if they don't have friends and lots of family around them, or just like a tight knit group.
Yeah,
So but then also, like, I think it's interesting thinking about how, like, just how I've been parented, and just how uh, one human, like one being, can be born so pure and open, yet to see them, not everyone, but most people are dealing with things, right? Especially here in New Zealand, but then to
yeah,
see them not be able to speak about, I think just even speaking about emotion, like, I am feeling this way because of this. Like, just that self awareness, that recognition of how they feel. I think a lot of people, especially men, I
yeah,
feel, struggle with that. And I think normalizing it, and actually just always personifying that we are human beings, like we are not constructs of what people around us are telling us of what a man is. Like, we are just human beings, like having this, this experience. So that's something that I like to always just be mindful of. But I guess, how would I say this? Like, with me, like, I decided to work through it, or so I thought it was working through it, but really I was medicating myself through it. So
yeah.
I'm curious to know how you dealt with these mental health challenges, and how did you deal with it first, and did you learn anything from those experiences that allowed you to do what you're doing today, or did you just do what you've been doing today at the start?
Um, so going on 5 years, close to 5 years, maybe 4.5 years, let's say 4.5. I was in a very, very dark place. And I won't go too much into it. That's a completely other story. But um, that's exactly why I had started my page. So I was in a very dark place. And and I had one or two options, like you were saying before. But when you're from Tikawiti, you got one or two options. You know what I mean? Meat
Meat
works or beef
works. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
works.
100%.
So, yeah, so yeah. Let's just long story short, I lost my job and I only had, yeah, the
Could I?
red pool, the meat works or the blue pool, the
Right,
beefs, and prerequisite for you to start is to be sober, is to pass a drug test.
right.
And at the time I was very heavily into drug use, and I knew I had to get sober in order for me to get money
Mm,
for my fix.
mm,
So a very, very hard move of mine. Uh, over half of my life, you know, indulging in drugs. So it was very hard. The first 24 hours was probably the hardest. And that was one day without drugs. And I was ready to fold. I was ready to fold. Um, but I had to really stick it out. And I'm going to be real. It was only for drug money. You know what I mean? It wasn't this. Yeah, well, it wasn't
yeah.
like no life
Right, right.
changing overnight. Spark in my head. Let's just go sober. I was like, nah, let's just get sober to get money so you can smoke again. And then, 30 days had passed and I failed my drug test. Yeah, I failed and thought to myself, I probably smoked too much because it's still in me. And then that was a very hard time for me as within mental health, because not only did I have to throw away my fix, but I now got told from the universe that I still have it in my system and you can't get a job, from where we're from. And that was just twice as worse. That was like um, having to go through a hard time, and then the drugs wasn't there for my mental comfort, and then I had to get told that you still can't get it, my hands on it, and it was the hardest time in my life, bro. It was really, really that much of a struggle. And then one of the brothers said it. He was just like, "Gee, if you can't pass a drug test, you might as well have some. Might as well have some, brother." And that's where awareness of myself had taken over, because it wasn't my head wanted it, but my body didn't. Because I was just like, "Nah, G, I don't want it." And it was just like, "Why?" And I was like, "I don't know. My body's saying it doesn't want it." And it was like, for me, anyways, within that time, that particular day, it was like two sides of me were at war. Like the sober side was like, bro, I don't want to have that drug, but my mental state was like, bro, I need my fix. And it was um it was like placebo no longer took effect in me, and I didn't need this fix that I thought I needed. It was sort of like my body telling me it had shaken it off, and then it was just like, no, you're actually all right. Your head thinks you need it, but your body's disagreeing with it. It can't take the smell. It can't stand it. So that 1 month had turned into 2 months. And then I was like, you know what? Let's go for another drug test. Let's see if I can get in it. Not for drugs anymore. This was me trying to get some money this time. So my kids were without money for 2 months. And just before I had taken off to go to the meatworks, the New World had called me up and they had told me I had a job. So the New World had become the first ever job in my whole entire 28 years at the time, that I never ever once spent my money on drugs, nor did I finish work early to go home to smoke drugs. It was my first ever sober job, and I still work there to this day, so it's a very big milestone of mine. And where I'm going with this is that a lot of my mental health had to do with me getting sober. A lot of it was me actually facing my demons in a more sober state. And that's not me knocking anybody that uses, that's me within my own journey saying that I had to take my a lot of my demons on, and a lot of my personal struggles on, face to face in a sober state. And it sounds cheesy, but I had to wait for the smoke to clear up in order for me to properly see what the hell was going on, and I could identify what was wrong with me, and I could see red flags, and I could attack it where it had needed to be attacked. I could, like, as they say, I could chop the head off the snake exactly there, so that's no longer a part of me. And it's been 4 years of me slowly ridding the weeds from that particular side of me, and which is why I can speak so openly about it now, because I see it, because I can see it now. I can see where people try to mask this mental health uh this mental health cloud that clouds them, and they openly think that 24/7, 7 days a week, partying, smiling in every single photo as
Yeah.
happiness.
Yeah.
I mean, as happiness, and I'm like, that's no offense to anybody.
Mm.
If you are truly happy, within that state, that's cool, but not everyone is. And it's
Right.
usually the ones that try to portray being I'm living my best life when it is totally the opposite. It's um
Right.
yeah, it's
Right.
like people that are living their best life do not need to validate that they
Right.
are.
Right.
It's yeah, very, very weird thing going on at the moment
Mm.
where where you see this mask put on.
Right.
But I'm not out here trying to, save the world one
Mm.
human at a time. Hey, you need to sort your shit out or any sort of
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is just letting it be known that I've identified it, and I know a lot of people that have as well. But
Mm.
letting everybody know my side of it, because if they're going through that, then that means they're not alone. And when I walked my journey, I very much thought I was alone. So it's uh, it's becoming somewhat of a normality towards a lot of people that what we were going through is just very normal.
Mm.
And yeah, I wanted to create a platform that spoke on this being normal, because a lot of people that actually create platforms will do the opposite. They'll show this very fake persona. I'm trying to be as most authentic as I can. That way, my energy is real. I can't give out false
Mm.
information and false feelings, and then turn the phone off, and then all of a sudden I'm and sort of just it's you got to live with it. You might as well tell everybody how the hell it's going down. Well,
Right.
that's my take on it, anyways.
Right. Yeah. And to be fair, like, I was laughing earlier because I actually used to do that, and it's really comforting now knowing that I know who I am, and I don't need anyone's validation. But it also, I think, hearing about what you've spoken about, it just shows and personifies and expresses that, we all can go through trials and tribulations, but I think just continuing the journey. But I want to ask you, like, because this is something that has fascinated me, and I've like often contemplated it. Speaking with someone who has dealt with challenges and who has overcome them and continues to work through them, because I think it's a never ending journey and until enlightenment.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask you quickly, what do you think has allowed you to make that change and to follow it through? Because I've seen I've seen a lot of people who haven't even started or who have tried and failed and given up. What do you think? What has kept you on this path of continuing to try and grow and like learn more about yourself, become more conscious and aware?
Um, I think a lot of it has to do with character. A lot of it has to do with character, uh, not ego. So not me thinking of what I think of myself, but more of me wanting to know more about myself. Um, I do believe one has to be mentally resilient. So, like I said, God will test me before He bless me. I go through a lot. I go through a lot, and everyone does. So I can't whip out the violin and do the sad story. We all got one. So um, a lot of it has to do with me really um, trying to really rectify the years that I had suppressed myself. Um, you know, I have a lot of time to make up for, which is why a lot of my page is fully me just letting it all out, because that was 14 years of a kid who just talked to himself in his head. So so yeah, like I said, I've got a lot of time to make up for. Not just that, but it's an adventure. It's a
Mm.
very much so an adventure. It's very, very it's, to me anyways, I get a little bit of um a sense of adventure out of it. It's I'm hoping it's more of a hero's journey, if you get me. Like
Mm.
I'm like, yeah, like I'll definitely travel to some place I've never been to before. It may very well be mental health, but I'll come out of that other side with the elixir, or with something
Mm.
that I can show the real world. And it's you know, it's sort of what I do. I try to give my certain take on things, the way I see it, the way I see it anyways. We all have different ways of viewing things. And a lot of people can relate, which is, to me, is warm and humbling, because within my household, I do not, nobody listens to me. I'm just there.
Right, right,
so,
right.
so for people to tell me, not only do they feel the words I write, but they're going through it, or they've seen it,
Mm.
or they're heading that way, it is truly warm for me. And all I really wanted to do was to just be the best version of myself for my children. And the best version for me has to be all sides of me. It has to be the mental side, it has to be the spiritual side. Like I said, I've telling you yesterday, I'm not spiritual, but my spirit's chill. So I can chill with people, yeah, and I can
Yeah.
just open myself with them. You know, um I can read the room, so I
Mm.
know if I'm wanted or if I'm not. And it's you know, time wasted if I'm in a place that I'm not wanted. So I'll happily remove myself. Um, but it's, for me, it's really been an adventure, like I was saying, of self discovery, of seeing exactly how far this this journey of mine is, because you had said it, it's a never ending journey. This is the never ending story. So it's yeah, um it's got a lot more chapters in it. Well,
Yeah.
maybe only scratching the surface of it. And
Mm.
if that's the case, I'm very happy, because I want to see more. Very
Mm.
curious as into where this is going. And
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, to be the best version of myself, bro, it has to apply to more than just one area of my life. I do lack in other areas. I need to
Mm.
find a balance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Beautifully said, man. Yeah, thank you for that. I really appreciate, really appreciated hearing that. And like, you spoke openly about losing your job 3 or 4 years ago, because you made a meme. Like,
Yeah.
can you tell us specifically what the meme was, and like how that whole experience played out?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So 4 years ago, I uh, I I used to write simple one-liners on my personal page, and this simple one-liner was not my best work. I will sit there and say it was rather creative, but it just went like this. I'll just say I was working at SV. I don't want to say the name, but it stated that I work for a job that I used to steal from as a kid. So the setup. um, my Indian boss now steals from me. The punchline is this karma, the tag. So it was a one-liner,
Right,
fully. It wasn't written within a joke writing structure. This was before I knew I could write jokes,
right, right.
and um, and my boss seen it.
Yeah,
Yeah, my boss seen it, and
yeah.
they put a meeting,
Mm.
and because they had said, bro, yeah, gave me an envelope, and I thought the gods had answered my prayers. I was like, oh, he's gonna give me a pay rise, so I had read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro, I
What
had
was
read
it?
it.
Was it a termination letter, or was it just a meeting, like a formal
So it
meeting?
was a meeting.
Right,
That
right.
meeting was basically, there were three meetings. So that meeting, this is to discuss what was said on Facebook. Tomorrow we want to hear your side of events. Went
Yeah.
to the meeting. told them my side. It's just a joke, bro. Yeah, no, it's
Right,
not funny.
right.
Bro. Yeah, it's not funny. Here's another envelope. This next meeting is to discuss what we discussed about what you had written on Facebook and your side of events. So there was the second meeting. I went to the next meeting, bro, unaware that I could lose my job over a joke.
Right, right.
And then went to the second one, and they're like, "Oh, so do you have anything to say about what you had said yesterday?" And I go, "No, no, not really. It was just a joke. Can I go back to work?" They're like, "Yep, but here's one more envelope."
Mm.
And that was, this one is to discuss what was discussed about what we had discussed. What you wrote on Facebook.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, "But you feel free to bring a spokesperson."
Mm.
Yeah. And at the time, it was just my nana, and I could never take her to my job, bro. So knocked him out. So I
Yeah.
was just like I said, I was unaware, bro. I went to the job next day, like, just another ordinary day, and just have a meeting about some meme.
Mm.
This meeting was very different. This one was like a board of people.
Right, right.
Yeah. And have you bring a spokesperson? And I go, "No, I haven't. It's just me. What do you want to discuss?" They go, "Oh, we're going to discuss what was said on Facebook." So I told them, I was like, "It's a joke." "Yeah, but jokes are supposed to be funny." And I go, "Well, read the reactions. People are thinking it's funny."
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, yeah, don't kid yourself, kid." And then I was just like, "Oh, it's just a joke. What's the problem?" But like, "What the problem is that you put a bad name on my store."
Mm.
And then, and I was really, really quite stubborn. And I told him, "Nah, I actually give your store a very good reputation. I'm the only person that greets every single person who comes through your door. I'm
Yeah.
the only person, I'm the only person that knows everyone that comes through your door. I'm the person
Mm.
that hongies half of this town.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm going to put a bad name on your store. If there's anyone putting a bad name, it's yourself."
Right.
So I stuck up for myself.
Mm.
And they gave me another letter at
Right.
the meeting. This letter was a termination of contract.
Mm.
So I lost my job that day.
Wow.
And they had let me down in quite a very creative way. They had fired me very, very, it was a very, how would you say it? Very crafty how they fired me. Those three meetings were
Right.
basically the written,
Right.
the final termination. Yeah.
Right.
However, they had their own little snaky way of doing it.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that, but what they did was legally the process within firing somebody. However, I had no idea I was going to lose my job over this.
Right.
When I had lost my job, what they had done was that they had got one of the workers to hand over the notice and remove me from the store because, in their words, I was intimidating. Bear in mind that they had a lot of power over me with this job, and would not I would never take intimidation to me to the workplace. So so it was their way of saying, "We just don't want to deal with you anymore." And when I was leaving, the guy that they had chosen to tell me to leave had told me, "You're a wannabe Facebook comedian." So that was like, this was his way of saying a joke. "You're a wannabe comedian." Oh, that hurt. Today, we terminate your contract. Whoa, yeah, that's not just a joke. This is getting real. And then let's just get a bit creative with the firing process. And today we get the last laugh. So please remove yourself from the building. And this coming from somebody that writes jokes, "You're gonna fire me with one." It was yeah, I didn't take that very well, my bro. Yeah, I didn't take it very well. One was losing my job, you know what I mean? But the next one, you sort of used what I do against me, and that hurt more.
Right.
Yeah, that was my ego talking. Now I was just like, bro, like, you took away my job. Yeah, sweet as, cool as, but you called me a wannabe, and you said you get the last laugh. So I was like, all right. That put me into that dark place we were speaking about earlier.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually had like a similar kind of experience at Tikawiti New World. I got fired from there actually, but that's another story for another time. But
Yeah.
I wanted to like ask you because it almost seems like being fired from that job, it just closed one door and opened another door,
Yep.
and it's just like, you know, out and then into a new experience. So how how has pursuing comedy and like just the creation of your Hori with a story like Facebook page and brand, how has that shaped you like as an individual, like and in your life in general?
Um, I never let the persona of the page become me. You know what I mean? I
Mm,
never let the page control me. I have to control the page.
right,
Um, yeah, it's there's two different worlds when it actually happens. It's
right,
because
right,
a lot of people, their page controls them. They might not
right.
try to. They won't admit that,
Mm,
but it's very easy to see somebody in real life, and you'll see it in a flash. The
right,
fact that they're not as hyped as their pages,
right,
and they're not as glamorous.
right.
But that's no smoke on anybody's journeys.
Mm,
Um, how has it shaped me? It's been part of my growth journey.
right.
It's been one of the stepping stones towards milestones.
Mm,
It really had um, set me on a new path, and it's been uh, to me, anyways. It's been my new uh, what would you say? It's been my new not fix, but it's been my new way of of getting getting through the day. So
right,
I'm not saying I need it. I'm not saying that I need it.
right.
I'm saying that it helped me through that dark time.
Mm,
And I no longer had drugs, so I had to find something else. And what I had chosen was creative expression. And whether that be through drawing or writing, poetry, joke writing, rapping, whatever it may be, I chose my creative expression. And my page is simply a place for me to put that as a collective, to display to the world the way that I had overcome my dark time, and to, as petty as it sounds, to let everybody that didn't believe in me within that time that I'm not wannabe,
right,
that yeah, that your words uh sort of pushed me to the edge, and it was just like, I it's this like, because at the time I was just a personal page trying to get a few laughs here and there, but
right.
what had eventually manifested from me getting pushed uh to that corner was me
Mm,
sort of breaking free from that time, because yeah, it really put me at a place where yeah, I could have chosen self destruction, but nah, I just I, I look at it as it had broken me, and I was shattered into tiny little pieces. But I've began building myself, and what I've created so far is a mosaic of broken pieces, and it's my art. And yeah, it's been me sort of not realizing that when they had broken me, that I had forgotten about certain pieces, and then I had seen it again. Oh, hey, that's right, I do that too. So it's it was a blessing in disguise, and I truly am grateful that they did that to me. I wasn't in the best shape then. Mentally now, I'm in a much better place, and yeah, it's like I said, it's growth for me to say that um that I'm happy it happened.
right. I was just like a little story here. I was at the warehouse in Hillcrest and I've got social anxiety, so like being in stores, being like confined spaces with lots of people, uh, I don't like that, right? Like I start to feel uncomfortable, start to get
Yep.
sweaty, and I start to ruminate in my head, having these conversations. But when I came out, there was a gentleman who noticed me, right? And we actually worked a job together a couple of years ago. It was like this, well, maybe like 4 years ago. It was a student job when I was studying, and it was interesting for me because I was so I felt socially anxious. I need to get outside and get some air, and then for like a person to come up to me almost just randomly and say like, "Hey, you remember me?" Blah blah blah. I love the podcast, and keep doing what you're doing. But the interaction for me, because I was in that state, I felt like I didn't offer him the openness that I would have preferred to give him.
Yeah.
Having, but in saying that, like I just, I was in the store, so I felt a certain way. So like, I want to
Yeah.
ask you, like, do you feel pressure to always be the guy people see on social media, and how are you? I guess that would be the first question is like, do you feel pressure to always like be the guy people see on social media out in public?
Um, when I had first started, yeah. When I had first started, simply because I was only one-siding, I was only showing my humor. I was only showing my comedy, my comedic material. Um, and there was a lot of pressure. Where we're from, I think you'll know that everybody's funny. Like everybody's funny. So what do I got that's different? What's my niche about it, eh? What was
Right.
my niche about being funny? My own was that I was willing to express it. That was the
Mm.
difference between me. And I think you had it too. You went out of your way and showed everybody you're funny. And not only were you funny, but you were ridiculously funny. So it was uh yeah, very, very much so pressure. And wasn't just that, but you get a lot of, people talking in the background. You
Mm.
get a lot of, he's a wannabe,
Right.
and
Right.
he's not even funny, bro. He's dry as, or
Yeah.
you know, you think you're funny, yeah, yeah. It's just sort of
Oh.
I had to take all of that on. I had to take
Right.
all of that on, and when I had first started, because when the page had gained a bit of traction, a lot of people from home were going, "No, that's the cuzzy. He's from home." And I was just like, bro, last week you were saying I was one of you. So it was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah, so like, so maybe I had grown on them,
Mm.
or maybe that they were undercover fans but didn't want to show it in person.
Right.
Either way, either way, I had to get past that and the pressure side of it, and sort of just be like, you know what, you can't go back. It's for the public to see now. So that side of it, yeah, I had pressure up until I had showed my true self, and now I can just be myself around people. Yeah. Up until I had shown everybody, no, there's more to me than just the jokes. You know what I mean? I'm not a 24/7 meme machine. I'm
Yeah.
I'm a human. I'm a
Right.
human being. Yeah, everyone can be funny, but there's times and places for that. And I can also hold a simple conversation with you.
Mm.
Like either way you want to go, I can be a ha ha or I can be a ho ha. It's up to you.
Yeah.
It's really up to you.
Mm.
So yeah, and everybody knows that now, so they come and see us for work, and they're more happier because what I project is happiness. They're
Mm.
more
Mm.
happier around me now. They're
Mm.
not sitting on the sideline like, yeah, you think you're funny, because I don't think I'm funny. I've never once stated the word funny.
Mm.
Um, I say comedically clever, never the word funny.
Mm.
So so because like I said, everywhere we're from, they're funny. Everyone from home is funny. Yeah. You can never catch, like, with me and five people from Tikuti, and they all start talking, you ain't gonna think I was a comedian. Yeah. It's just so natural down. So yeah. There was a pressure at the start, my brother, but no longer do I feel pressured to be something that I'm not, because I'm showing them my true authentic self.
Right. And to be fair, like, I can vouch for that, right? Because I reached out to you and said, hey, like I love what you're doing. I love what you're about. I would love to do a podcast with you. And for me, because I always have to put myself out there, right? And I've started 3 weeks ago, and this is episode 7. So, I'm in the world of like social media, in the eyes of social media, I'm a nobody. But for me personally, like I feel honored and blessed and just humbled to connect with individuals and learn about who they are and about their experience and their journey. And, you know, I like to, there's almost an art to like podcasting and having a conversation with people. And I really love the dynamic of it and I love doing it. So I think for you to be willing to come on when I've only just started, right? Like you, in a way, like, if we're looking at this materially, just specifically materially, you're not going to get anything from this, really. You know what I mean? But for you to be willing to come on shows a lot more about you than just than just social media and materialism. So I'm so grateful that you've been able to come on and just express yourself. I hope this podcast serves you well. I hope people can watch this and like I said yesterday, just have a general overview of who you are and what your life has been like and how you became who you are today and what your future ambitions are. So it's a blessing for me to be able to do this, and I really appreciate it. So, talking about
Cool, my brother.
nah, yeah, thank you, man. Like talking about like because we spoke about you doing comedy show or having comedy show experience and doing like open mic nights as well. I was wondering if you could just
Yeah.
share an experience or a moment that really hit you in a profound way.
In terms to stand up.
Stand up, anything comedic, anything artistry. Has there been a moment or an experience that you've had and that really impacted you in a profound way?
Um, so like I said, I can show you the highlight reels, or I can show you some bloopers. You know what I mean? And me being authentic is letting everybody know that the true emotion behind a human is that you have to learn how to deal with an L. You have to learn how to take your L's. Um, I do believe that's more character building.
Mm.
You know, seeing exactly how one takes their L, and yeah, I can describe to you exactly how I took my first L in terms to stand up competitions. Um,
Yeah,
I
man.
had yeah, I had got asked to perform stand up at a regional competition. You know what I mean? I've never been to an open mic. I've never been to a gig. I've never seen stand up in my entire life up until that point. So when I had gone to go and perform, I was honestly watching stand up for the first time. I only seen one set, then it was my turn. So yeah, so it was bear in mind this was when I was just a joke writer.
Mm.
So this was when I had an ego. I had a very big ego in terms to comedy, and that ego needed to be, that ego needed to have to be put in check. And this is what had happened. I went to that competition, right, and I had hopped on the stage, and I had seen exactly what every stand-up comedian goes through, and that's stage lights and stage frights,
Mm.
and a crowd of people waiting for you to make them laugh, and not just for 5 seconds, 5 minutes and more. Not an easy thing to do. You know what I mean? Coming from somebody that can write jokes, not an easy thing to do. Not an easy craft. And and I went on stage. But what happened was is that I went on stage and I took my persona on stage, and I took confidence on stage, but I didn't take jokes on stage, and I didn't take a well written plan on stage. What happened was that I went up there and I enjoy battle culture. I enjoy it. I enjoy battle rap. I enjoy the art of one's creative self getting put up against somebody else's creative self. I love it. It's because it's not because it's all from the mind. So it's a battle of the mind. And to me, I took up a very 8 mile wilding out approach to
Right.
some stand-up comedy, bro. You know what I mean? I tried to get the crowd roaring off simple rhyme schemes that were funny, and they were just not having it. And I was just like, "What's wrong with you?" And my confidence was there, and my 8 beer deep was like kicking in. And honestly, bro, I was like, I had jokes, and I had formulated jokes, and I had sort of freestyled it to the point where a lot of my jokes were just sort of what was going on at the time. I had a few crowd engagement moments. So I did talk to my crowd, I asked questions, and I ended with a punchline, which is basically the art of it. However, I went up and I freestyled. I went up and I freestyled towards a lot of people that had riddens. Now, there's one or two things that happen when you freestyle around someone with riddens. It's either you're going to sass or you will get clapped. And
Yeah.
and they weren't having it, bro. They were not having a
Yeah.
bar of this Maori boy from King Country who thinks he can get away with this gangster comedy style, bro. They weren't having it. They were just like, you know what, bro? Like, try again next year. So I lost. I
Mm,
lost.
mm,
And that L right there was a lot of character uh realization for me. Like, whoa, bro, all those people that love me on my page don't mean nothing up here. All those people that laugh at my content don't mean shit up here. So what had happened was is that I had created a character on page. Now it was time to grow and create a character on stage. I had lost the regionals, and I and my cousin was with me, and he seen
mm.
me take that loss. And he told me, "You should have won, cousin." I go, "If we were judged by a laugh-o-meter, I would have won that. That is no lie, I would have won that. I had way more laughs than anybody else did." This is coming from someone who's never performed stand-up. However, it has to be managed properly. It has to have a rhythm. You have to have a laugh, laugh, laugh. You can't just go laugh, laugh, laugh. You can't do that. Or you can't just have heaps of laughs and at the end there's no laughs. It's it has to be methodic. It has to be like I said, it's the battle of the minds. What they had done is they had written out these to cohesively get laughs in between each punch. And I had to learn this. And it took me 1 year for me to get to where I am now. And that's only 14 gigs deep. That's like maybe on a good month, 2 gigs. When these people that I took on own clubs, own stages, they can gig once a week, they can gig twice a week. People in Auckland gig 14 to 15 times a week. So I got uh, one chance to go on stage. I have to kill it. I have to put as much energy into it as I could possibly do. And that's 5 minutes of stage time for maybe 5 hours on the road. That's a lot of time wasted on the road. That's a lot of dedication. Um, However, it was because of that hour I had taken. And I got to the next regionals. I got put in regionals, and I went back and I took on exactly every single person that I lost against, and I won it. Yeah, I'd won regionals. So it was me taking that L, coming to terms with it, not getting salty, not becoming bitter, only becoming better. So I took the L. I humbly dissected it. I seen where I went wrong, what had happened, what I can do to improve it, and you know, let's try that again.
Mm.
Obviously with some practice, but yeah, that Al had started my stand up journey, and yeah, I made regionals, and I blew that crowd away. So that was in terms of me becoming a more mentally aware of myself within my journey. One of them is now public speaking. I can do that with a lot more ease now.
Mm.
So that was me going into an uncomfortable place and finding this side of me I never knew I had. And yeah, so that in itself was its own separate journey that sort of made its way into my journey now. And it was a great way to utilize all the years I had spent writing jokes. Let's see how they work on stage.
Yeah, yeah. How did it feel going back, like taking that owl, going through the process of dissecting it, breaking it like methodically down and almost restructuring it, and then going back and winning the competition? How did that whole entire process feel for you? Like being told or just being awarded um, as the winner, as first place?
It was very, very overwhelming. It was overwhelming. It was like all my hard work had finally paid off. It literally did. It was like a weight had lifted. It was just like it was liberating. It really was. And it's not the ego speaking either. This was more of a grind. Yeah, it was like um like it was good for me to know that my time was well spent, and it was never about me like win or lose. Um, it was me just putting myself in that same position again and seeing if I would come out with a different result. You know, if I went in with that same sort of mentality, like nah, you because I had to eradicate the ego and I had to get rid of that, and I had to build up a new coping mechanism. This one was just self confidence. So a lot of people confuse the two, but I carry myself with a lot of confidence on stage. I tell people, prepare to wear sunglasses around me, for I no longer dim my lights around you if I shine too bright. So um, it's me just being totally aware that I have to hop into this very, very confident person on stage, because body language and all that plays a very big part into your persona while you're on stage. And I had learnt throughout the video that there was a presenting side to me. There was a more of a pukana presenter. Then there was you know, best food, mayo, comedy, comic.
Yeah, yeah.
I had more of this that sort of character,
Mm.
and it had made way for me to tell myself, you know what, I'm gonna do open spoken word as well within the staging. So yeah, we'll definitely move into that, so I can bring both sides of my page to the stage. It
Yeah,
was a
like
good feeling.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like, could you just walk us, or like walk me through like what's going on in your head and how you're feeling moments before going up on stage? Do you have a specific routine or like a process where you put yourself in that certain, let's say, energy or persona or character, or how do you align yourself before going on stage?
I believe in power stances. I myself personally believe in power stances. Maybe it's the placebo effect. I do not know. Um, but I do the Superman stance before every gig. I assert and affirm myself with positive affirmations and self confidence, and you are the best, and you will be the best version of yourself, and you know, time to shine, and I receive these manifestations and I feed them to myself. Nobody else is gonna You know, nobody else is gonna put me in that state, and if they are putting me into that state, then that means I don't belong there, because I need to learn how to do this on my own. So I do it on my own, and I draw this power from within. And this isn't alive, but every time I do go on stage, it's like a superpower. I turn into somebody else, because the moment I get off stage, my introverted self comes back into play, and I just shy away from the crowds, and I just go into my little self, and then you know, and I have a breather, because I don't have to, you know, put myself out there in front of 100 people, 200 people. It's just I can go to the table, humbly sit down, and breathe it all out, and just be like, you know what? So yeah, breathing techniques, self-affirmation, power stances, and although I wouldn't suggest it, just a lot of rehearsing in the mind. Yeah, just remembering how it goes to a point where it feels like a song now. And yeah, most of it comes from self-confidence. A lot of it has to be built from oneself. You can't be a coping mechanism for somebody else. You have to really do it to yourself. I think if you can't build your own confidence, you shouldn't be trying to gift. So yeah, so for me, it was me like doing it. Yeah, sweet as, yeah, I can do the sweet, and then now I can not give out the blueprint, but I can show you simple techniques as to how I had overcome the stage fright with the stage light.
How about the way in which you create material, whether it's stand up or social media clips? Because, like, from what we see, we're seeing the content, right? Like we're seeing the video, we're seeing the post, or the anything that you're putting out and expressing to the world and to us. How do you, like, where does this inspiration come from? Where does this creativity come from? How are you able to just create different types of videos? Because some people can do that, and most people can't, or they can't do it to a degree that you can. So how does that work?
In terms of videos, I've been a real slack on that. I've been real slack on that side. I am going to get into that. I am going to get back into that. It's something that I had strayed away from, because I will be real with you. A lot of people follow me for the jokes more than the videos.
Right.
But I've learned from other creators that if you're not putting out what you want to put out, then it's not you being you. Don't do it for the view, do it for you. So there's people that say I love views, and there's people that say I love views. There's a very different side to the, and I'm going to show a lot more of my myself in person through video in the next couple, within the next year or so. You're going to see a lot more of me on camera. Very self-conscious. I'm very self-conscious, believe it or not, and I'm very shy. Although I portray a lot of self-confidence on page and on stage, it is a very hard thing for me, but it's something that I enjoy, and it's not for me to put myself on public display. It's more of me expressing myself, and if I've built a platform to express it, I have more than a right to express it there. I've been told, oh, you're attention seeker and all this other stuff, all these words that I'm not. And I've told people, like, I'm not seeking attention. I'm expressing myself. If I wanted to seek attention, I could be very stupid with the page I've got. You know what I mean? But I choose my battles wisely. So in terms to me in videos and content, a lot of it's very spontaneous, just very it's just like a light bulb. So it's not like a formula where I go write this and that, and then at the end of it, there's this, like, this golden ticket or anything. It's just like
right.
yeah, it's just sort of like, oh, hey, that's pretty funny, I'll write that down. Or, oh, I wonder how it happened if the world was like this. And, what if the cousin was doing this? It's always what ifs for me. Like what if a zombie was racist and he didn't talk to you because you're moldy? Just the what ifs. So yeah, just putting myself into some really weird positions and weird sort of scenarios just to show another creative side of me. I don't like doing the generic skits, like a day at my auntie's type of thing. I really like pushing my creativity to see exactly how far I can get within it. So it's not everyday comedy, it's very, very creative. And I like to stay within the realm of creative comedy. I like I love content, and it doesn't have to be comedic. I love a good twist at the end of a show. I love a good storyline. I love a good character build up. I love it all. So this is only very much stepping stones for me in terms to content. Because I could switch it just like that and become like, a guy that's doing like little horror TikToks or something, like something completely different. Anyways, I try to not be anything of the ordinary, although there's a hell of a lot of people doing it.
Right. So you wouldn't,
Yeah,
you're not going to make an OnlyFans and start
I
pushing
don't think I have
that.
I don't think I have the body for that.
Hey man,
You can
sorry about that.
I'm a dad bod, bro. You can add me on OnlyFans.
Where do you see your platform and presence 1 year from now? Like, where are you hoping to be, or where are you going to be?
If I had it my way, I'd go back into study. I'll go back into study.
What were you
I
studying?
don't want to put myself into student debt or anything. I don't really want that side of it. Because how I had said earlier, I've only had this job being sober. I've never studied sober. I've never embarked on anything else apart from working sober and obviously content creation. I want to get into some sort of creative field, whether it's movies or digital art, anything within the creative field, anything that offers me a chance to spend my time away from home being creative. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. Because a lot of my time is spent at work, 8 hours of my day to 9 hours, 10 hours of my day. That's over 1/3 of my day is away from home, and none of that's creative at all. That's all just bringing bread and butter home. And then my other 8 hours is with my children, and sometimes I have to juggle children with what I get up to here, just so I can keep my personal self as well as being a father. I have to show my children that their father is also, more than just daddy. And although daddy comes first, I have to let them know that one day when they are older, that I was pushing to be the best version of myself, and that means not selling myself short. I have to really put myself out there and see exactly how far I can get within my creative fields, even if it's like anything to do with creativity. I want to study it. Does that mean I have what I want to study now? Not really. I would love to get into filming movies. That's something that I really want to get into, and it's not just comedy. There's a hell of a lot of genres. So the moment I can formulate that sort of knowledge, I do believe my content will get a boost of morale, and I myself will be in a more happier mind space because I'm spending more than, I'm spending time away from home doing what I love. Yeah. The answer to the question, where do I see my page? In all honesty, If I find a place where I can do it outside of the house, that page may very well become just a chapter that has closed within my book of life. Yeah, I do believe it's a chapter,
Right.
and yeah, but it's been the first chapter in my book of growth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely, man. I think you should put it out there. I really do. I think you've got the community. I think if you put it out there, I think you'd have a lot of support, and I think people would help you to endeavor to what you want to do and your creative aspirations, man. I genuinely think you should put it out there, and I want to ask you two final questions. I want to ask you, what are you most proud of doing in this life?
my most proudest thing I do is provide for my children. Is to spend the money that I make on my children. Although I'm not, leaning towards a financial stability, it's just comforting to have a financial backbone around my children, seen as the way that this world operates is through money. However, I do want to give them spiritual currency as well and tell them that time spent on them is much more valuable than money. However, having this having this comfort to give my children is to me anyways, it's priceless. But it'll definitely be time with my children, the one thing I never had, time with my kids.
Mm. And what is your hope for the world and for future generations?
um Obviously, like, I don't want a Nobel Prize or anything. World peace will definitely be a very big one. Um i do i do see us heading into a new time, whether it's a reset, whether it's a global awakening, whether it's just a change in times. I do wish people well. This is a very big step we're taking when it comes to the cyber world. Like I said, I've only had an online avatar before, and I nearly got to the stage where the page controlled me. It's going to get that way soon for a lot of people. It's going to become so dependent on them, whether it's virtual reality, if they can find a virtual world where they're much more happier. Um, I think we're doomed as a species if we're chasing a dopamine fix that's not real. Um, yeah, it's very scary times. The one thing I wish on everyone is that they find within their own within their own self and their own journey. I do hope that they find peace and healing, and yeah, just an overall sense of happiness, that a lot of happiness is truly in front of us. Just we're unaware of it because there's just this we're just in a cyber overload at the moment, and it's there's all these quick fixes and everything, when maybe the one fix we need is to just sort of take a step back, um, sort of yeah, sort of look at ourselves and go, where am I going with this? What am I doing? If it's a place that makes you happy and it's not an escape, that's good. But if it's an escape from your actual reality, I do believe that you have to identify that, and 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 slowly make amends. Yeah, as people, my wish for the world will be we'll be happy with ourselves, really. Yeah, um if that's anything we can hope for, is to just be happy with ourselves, whether it's what you look like, how you feel. um Happiness is basically the seed of what makes life good.
Mm. Yeah, beautifully said. And I often think about how like you talk about dopamine, and dopamine is connected with instant gratification. It's interesting, like just watching the instant gratification like creep up on us as human beings, and the way that we like to be stimulated. We're heading to a place in time where there will be no separation, right? There'll be no latency between ourselves and the stimulation. So it's like
Yeah.
we will be the stimulation, and that's something that is like very confronting to think about. So I absolutely second your message, and I appreciate your time, your willingness to come on. I think your openness to be vulnerable and to express yourself raw and authentically. I feel like you've done a great job. So kudos to you, and much love. And I'll continue to support and watch your content and watch your journey unfold, brother. So thank you.
Cool as my bro. Thank you. Thanks, my brother.